Hi all, thanks for joining this evening. My name is Maddie Eberly. I use they them pronouns. I am the low impact forestry specialist for the Maine Organic Farmers and Gardeners Association. And this evening we have Kristen Walker joining us from the MOFGA Certification Services. And I'll let Kristen do a more formal introduction of herself in a moment here. But I just kind of, for folks who are new to the low impact forestry program, thanks for being here. We do have year-round educational programming. We just started our maple programming last year, and so we're kind of, trying to grow that out and make sure that these resources are what folks want and are able to get the most out of the information that we share and make available. After the event, we'll send out a survey, and so any feedback is always super helpful. So I'm gonna ask Kristen to go ahead and share her screen and kick us off.
All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm just going to start sharing my screen here. As Maddie said, I am an organic certification specialist with MOFGA Certification Services, and I am the maple lead, so I handle all of our maple clients. I Yeah, I've been in organic agriculture for most of my life, and with MOFGA for officially for 2 years now, almost 2 years. But I'd like to start off by if we could do some introductions of everyone, if you could just let us know your name and maybe like a reason why you were interested in this webinar, that would be great. I have CJ at the top, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself quickly.
Well, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I'm CJ King, and I'm up in northern Maine. I've been making syrup since about 2007. We currently run about 3,500 taps, and I'm not organic certified. And I just thought maybe I would look into it a little bit. So I just thought I'd tag along and see if I can pick up some information about it.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, CJ. And then I have Andrea next here.
Hi, I can't get my camera to work, but yeah, I'm Andrea Church from Church's Sugar Shack in Columbia Falls. And my husband who did this with me, he passed away in February, so I'm kind of doing this myself. So I'm just trying to get more information on other options that we could do.
I'm very sorry for your loss and thank you for being here. I have Tim. Oh, I think
Yes.
there
Hi.
we go.
Yes, let's see. I think this is our 20th year of organic maple production, our 50th year of maple syrup production. We've been certified with MOFGA for 2 years. I'm in New Hampshire, and New Hampshire dropped their certifying program. So we moved over to MOFGA. And much more professional than New Hampshire was. New Hampshire inspectors didn't get a lot of support from the state. It was a state-run program rather than like Vermont Organic Farmers or MOFGA or even Bay State. Anyway, we looked at those folks and chose MOFGA, and we're glad we did. So I'm here to maybe learn something new because it's about time to fill out our organic system plan, and maybe we'll have some new ideas.
Now that you say that, I recognize your last name. Nice to
Okay.
kind of meet you. I'm your certification specialist. Thanks for being
Yeah,
here.
my name here is funny on it's Tim Me. Yeah.
All right. Nice to meet you. We have Joseph next. All right, we might come back to Joe. Becky? All right, we will move on then. And if either of you want to introduce yourself, or feel free to ask any questions throughout the webinar. Maddie introduced themselves. So unless you have anything to add, Maddie, we'll move along.
Well, sounds like we have an awesome group tonight. So thank you all
Yeah.
for being here.
All right. So, starting off, I just wanted to address some of the many, many acronyms that we have in organic certification. I'm still learning them, you're learning to use them fluently, I should say. So I wanted to do a little cheat sheet here for everyone to start off with. These are some of the more prevalent ones, especially in the beginning stages of certification. OFPA is the Organic Food Production Act of 1990, USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, Agricultural Marketing Service, the NOP, NOSB, OMRI, which if you work in organics at all, we are probably familiar with, but the Organic Materials Review Institute. MCS is the MOFGA Certification Services. SOE, Strengthening Organic Enforcement. That is some regulation that went into effect in 2024. A lot of record keeping and inclusion of more handling clients with the intention of kind of cutting out some of the fraud that happens in the worldwide and like the larger marketplace. With strengthening organic enforcement, we had the implementation of the OID, which is the Organic Integrity Database. This is an online place where all organic certificates are available. So if you have a certified farm or are looking into to see if someone is in fact certified, you can search this database and their certificate and what they are certified for will pop up. And then the EFCR is something that I use quite a bit. That's the Federal Code of Regulations. That is an online publication of all of the Agricultural Marketing Service regulation, and within that it are all the organic regulations. So what is organic certification? So organic certification is a way for your clients, to show that you are indeed following regulation. It's a process where under the USDA, the agricultural marketing system is the NOP, and then certifiers like MCS answer to the NOP. We actually get audited ourselves every 3 to 5 years to ensure that we are holding up our end of the bargain. What does the NOP do? They set standards for all organic regulation. They accredit certifiers. If there's any kind of non-compliance that your certifier reports, that ultimately, if it escalates to this point, the NOP is who enforces organic regulation. They also provide guidance. One that comes to mind is with compost as an input, or manure specifically in organic crop production. If there are some gaps in regulation, they publish guidance that helps certifiers and producers better understand what it is that they're looking for. And then MOFGA Certification Services is an accredited certifier. We do review of what we call organic system plans, or OSPs. That's another acronym that we use pretty frequently. Once as we've reviewed your organic system plan, we then assign your operation to an inspector who then contacts you and goes out and inspects. They write a report which goes to your certification specialist for any enforcement, and MCS is responsible for all communications regarding the certification process. And what do we look for at inspection? Generally, compliance with standards, prohibited substances. We encourage certain practices, animal welfare, upholding the certification process, and labeling of products. Who needs to be certified? So producers who are under $5,000 a year in organic sales are exempt under regulation. So anyone who grosses more than $5,000 a year of organically marketed products needs to be certified. And any producer who sells to a processor or handler, like a third-party distributor, or to a grocery store, or even a local store, needs to be certified. And most handling activities need to be certified under the new SOE rule. Just a few reasons to certify are consumer trust, the organic seal, and a lot of times people, even like our smaller producers who even may be exempt but want to show their customers and their neighbors generally here in Maine and New Hampshire that they really stand by their product. The MOFGA logo goes a long way. We're a pretty recognized farming and gardening operation. And it shows that you have transparency within your operations as well. Organic farming practices help improve water quality, conserve energy, and increase biodiversity, support local economies. And I know some producers can find the record keeping slightly burdensome. At the end of the day, like what it does help a lot of businesses become more, I don't know, not successful, but efficient, because you have a better handle on what's going on in the books, as well as on the ground and outside. Organic certification is also considered a value added. So it offers more funding and technical assistance in the form of grants. We also offer a cost share program, and better prices for your products. Retail, you can generally get about 10 to 20% more for organic syrup, and then wholesale, generally 20 cents more per pound for syrup. And then this I thought was just a really cool, interesting depiction of the impact of climate change on our forests, and specifically maple production. The first map being 1961 and 1990 data. Projected is number 2 through 2070 and 2100. Wow, that's a weird weird thing to say. And basically the important piece being is that we're losing habitat for sugar maples and production areas, and the majority of those forests are projected to be in the Northeast, specifically Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, which gives a lot of opportunity for organic certification and for sugar maples and maple syrup in general within the next coming years as climate change affects those markets. All right, we'll switch over a little bit more to the certification side of things. This is just a good depiction of the organic certification cycle, the first being contacting MCS. We also have a lot of resources for organic certification on our website. Applying or renewing. So whether you're applying for the first time or you're a producer, we require an annual update of your organic system plan. That then goes to your certification specialist for review, inspection review, certification, or if you're already certified, then you would receive correspondence from your specialist regarding any issues that may have come up at inspection and follow up. Or like a lot of maple producers were like, great job. And then just throughout the rest of the year, maintaining communication if there are any big changes that happen. All right, so your organic system plan. What is the organic system plan? So this goes through all of the kind of bullet points of what we're looking for specific to maple production when we are looking for compliance with organic regulation. An organic system plan is like a detailed blueprint that lets your certifier know what you're doing, what materials you're using, what like sugar bush management and tapping practices, and processing of the sap into syrup you're doing, and how that meets the NOP rules. So these little fun things here, the 205, 202 land requirements, 205, 207, etc. Those are the regulation, which can be found on the EFCR website that I talked about a little bit with the acronyms that tie to the organic system plan that you submit to us. I won't go through these like too much unless people have an interest in that specifically. But just wanted to highlight that the organic system plan ties to the regulation, and when your certification specialist receives that, we are verifying that and saying that we believe that you're in compliance and your file is ready for inspection, or hey, I have these additional questions that need to be answered before we can go ahead and inspect. So if you want to, you're welcome to check out the EFCR. I'm on it frequently. But I'll move on for now. All right, so sugar bush management, kind of starting in the forest, and then we'll go through and to production and tapping guidelines and processing and with record keeping. So sugar bushes, as we know, are important ecosystems for wildlife, soil, water, uh, air filtration, and it really is the backbone of our organic certification. This is something that we not only ask for in our OSP, but look for at inspection, is that you are creating a sustainable forest, and managing it in a way not only to ensure organic integrity, but long-term viability of the sugar bush, which ultimately leads to better sap yields. So it's kind of a win-win for everyone. We do that by maintaining species diversity. Um, we look for multiple different species when we are out in the sugar bush. We look at stand age and spacing. This can be a little bit more difficult because we generally inspect during the winter, but looking to see that invasive plants are managed, and that native flora are able to thrive. This is another reason why the OSP is so important, is because sometimes we're not able to see those aspects of an operation when we're having to inspect during the winter. So we rely on producers to let us know what's going on there while everything's under the snow. And then, of course, we're looking to make sure that there are no synthetic chemicals being applied in the sugar bush, or including paint. We do not allow producers to put paint on trees to mark them. And one of the bigger challenges, or not challenges, but obstacles that we do have, is a lot of maple producers in Maine and don't own their own sugar bush. In order to ensure that these sugar bushes are in compliance, we require a landowner affidavit and a field history form, so that we know that whoever owns the land is managing them in a sustainable way. All right.
All right, this is my time to share out a little bit. So, wearing my forester's cap, I just want to make sure you all are aware of what resources are out there to support you within your forest management. So, the University of Maine Cooperative Extension does have a maple specialist. His name's Jason Lilly. And they have a great website with plenty of links and resources there. And so we will send out a link. I'll try to, after I'm done talking here, I'll try to share out all these different links to these different resources in the chat as well. So another really great resource, the University of Vermont Extension, their Maple program is phenomenal. Excellent videos and resources for any of your questions. Also great staff there who are able to answer direct questions. And so there's a newer program here in Maine, but it's pretty successful elsewhere within the Northeast, is Audubon's Bird Friendly Maple Program. It's kind of another sticker or stamp that you get to put on your product that is a bit of like a value added to the sale of that product. And so the program that was created through that is a really great way to assess your woodlot, to think about the general diversity that is being supported within that wood. So we like to, as Kristen was mentioning, thinking about the structural diversity, having species diversity, and very thoughtful management within the woods. This program does a really great job of helping to guide that while focusing on a handful of bird species that require different niches within the ecosystem. So it's a really great program, really great resources for how to think about diversity in a simplified manner. The International Maple Syrup Institute, another great set of resources for our folks that are in Maine. So we don't have a cooperative extension forester, but we do have our Maine Forest Service district foresters. For anyone with 10 or more acres, they'll come out and do a walk and talk with you. They're always available by email, phone, to answer questions that are more specific to the forest management side of things. We also have a landowner outreach forester. Her name's Nicole Rogers. She's a phenomenal resource and is um, um, helping with a new grant program or cost share program rather, that the state has received funding for and is coming out this year to help with various stewardship projects in the woods, which some of you might be interested in. So stay tuned for more information on those programs once they become available. And last but not least, our local consulting foresters are always great resources. And a great place to look for folks operating local to you is the Maine Forest Service's Stewardship Foresters list. For our friends in Vermont, New Hampshire, I'm not quite as familiar with the best resource to find your local consulting foresters, but if you reach out to the state or your local extension foresters, they should be able to point you in the direction of who's working in your area. And I think that's all I have. Always happy to answer more forest specific questions.
Great. Thanks, Maddie. All right, so moving over to the MOFGA Maple Guidelines. I'm gonna click on our link here and it will bring us. Oh, are you able to see that?
Yep, we can see it.
The guidelines. Okay, perfect. Thank you. So the MOFGA Maple Guidelines can be found on the MCS website, and we'll also send out some links post-webinar, or it's linked in the slideshow that you were sent, or I added this right before the webinar, so we will send it to you.
I dropped the link in the chat there for
I did some last minute editing. Sorry about that. So this goes through, so the NOP does not have regulation specific to maple production. Because of that, some certifiers consider it a under what we call the crop scope. And some people like MCS put it under the wild crop scope. But the wild crop scope isn't as detailed as the crop scope, which is why certifiers like MCS have their own guidelines. So as far as producers who certify under other use other certifiers, I would look into what, like, VOF has their own, and Bay State I would assume they have their own as well. Each certifier has their own guidelines to kind of make up for the lack of them that the NOP provides to us. So I wanted to call your attention to this, the MCS's Maple Guidelines, which goes through to begin with our kind of ethos regarding sugar bush management, inspections, lead, and then goes into the tapping guidelines. And I'll go into all of these in more detail in subsequent slides, but wanted to make you aware that this is out there and for your reference. So I'll move back over here. So I grabbed this right from the from the guidelines, but as far as tapping trees, this is what MCS looks for compliance. For DBH 10 to 18 inches, you're allowed one tap. 18.1 to 25, 2 taps, and over 25 is 3. This is what's allowed or permitted within MOFGA's guidelines, but we always recommend just 1 tap per tree, regardless of size, because it's better for the tree. And we've found in talking to producers that they actually see very similar sap yield and syrup yields while increasing the tree health by only doing 1 tap. But this is what's allowable under our guidelines. Oh my gosh, I keep doing that. I'm sorry. I'll stop touching that. What's not permitted, galvanized buckets pose a risk of lead contamination, so we do not allow galvanized steel in any, whether it's out in the sugar bush or in the evaporation room. We don't allow galvanized steel. Tapping trees in poor health or with weak crowns. We also don't allow tapping of trees less than 10 inches DBH, and we do measure. I think there's a slide in one of the next slides is a picture that I took at inspection. I have a little like a fabric measure that I bring out into the sugar bush with me. And if a tree looks like it might not meet our guidelines, then I'll use that. And then successive tap holes have to be 4 inches to the side or laterally, and then 6 inches up and down year to year. At inspection, we look to see that any holes are healing correctly and make sure that these tapping guidelines are being followed. Sap collection containers can't have previously held a prohibited substance, leaving spouts in past 60 days is not permitted. And retapping trees during the same season is also not allowed. A little bit more on tapping. This slide is what we recommend versus what is not permitted. In pump stations, we recommend a stainless steel tank and lids to prevent debris from falling into sap. We also will allow a food grade plastic holding tank. But in pump houses in general, we're looking to see that exhaust is not into the pump house itself and is ventilated outside. And we're also looking for any potential contamination, such as storage of materials, or like we recommend that you have lids, but it's not always possible. So we're looking to see if there's any risk of something falling into the sap while it's in your pump house. Filtration and processing of sap. Most people use an RO system, so we're looking to see how those membranes were stored, how they're washed, if you're using sand, cloth, or felt filters, how those are also being stored and washed. In general, one of my rule of thumbs is please don't use a material unless you've sent it to your specialist first. We have run into issues where a cleaning solution or a defoamer is either not certified or contains prohibited substances, which is ultimately not great for the producer, because there have been instances where we have said that you can't sell that as organic. It doesn't happen often, but I always recommend that if you are thinking of adding a new material, please send it to your specialist first so that we avoid any issues like that. Evaporation, like I was just talking about, the defoaming agents must be certified organic. We don't allow meat products. I know some people have used lard or yeah, any kind of meat product cannot be used for defoamers. And so I see a lot of like safflower or sunflower oil, which is great. We just want it to make sure that it is certified organic. Otherwise, it can't be used. We also permit or recommend air injectors in the evaporator. At inspection, we're also looking at the kind of state of your evaporator pans to see what condition they're in, and anything that is prior to 1995 for the risk of lead contamination may require additional verification. Filtration of syrup. Mostly I see paper filters for filter presses, but if you're doing any kind of reusable felt or cloth filters, we do want to know how those are being washed. And then an important one is that if you're using diatomaceous earth for a filter aid or what filter aid you're using is food grade. There are some diatomaceous earths that contain silica or silica powder that is not permitted. So again, submit it to your specialist before you use it. And I feel like this goes without saying, but use of asbestos as a filtering material, not allowed. Also not allowed are preservatives or anything that's added to your syrup to enhance the taste, color, or texture. Storage and canning. Stainless steel drums are recommended for bulk storage. We also see a lot of drums with like epoxy lined steel drums, which is fine. We do inspect empty drums to make sure that there's no chipping or cracking of the epoxy. And then for retail packaging, we recommend glass or food grade plastic. And again, no galvanized metal can be used throughout your system. All right, cleaning and storage. Chlorine materials are allowed. Generally, those can be used up to the highest label recommendations and don't need to be washed. Biodegradable cleaners can be used. Again, those need to be approved by our specialist. And then your storage of RO filters. Again, the propylene glycol is very common and is permitted. But again, you would want to submit that to your specialist. And then, of course, no pesticides, fumigants, volatile substances may be on site. And keeping anything used in your maple syrup production must be kept clean and free from contaminants. Your materials list is something that is we ask for. It's right on your OSP, but including details like the use, manufacturer, or EPA number on your materials list so that we can verify the material being used is really helpful. And again, submit new materials to your specialist. Sorry, I'm being super redundant there, but it's important. It's really important. I don't want, the last thing we want is for a producer to run into issues because of that. So I can't say it enough. All right, labeling. So on this there were some rule changes with labeling with the implementation of SOE. So now labels must include organic designation, your name, so the producer's name, and a traceable lot number, or a lot of producers use dates or barrel numbers, some sort of traceable information where we can trace things through your production system. For retail labels, under the producer information, a certified organic buy statement must be on those. There's also other kind of regulation regarding using the USDA seal or the MOFGA seal. So again, we just recommend submitting those to your specialist before printing them to make sure that they're in compliance. Yeah. All right. Record keeping. So in general, when we are talking about record keeping, we're looking for these items. So field activity, regarding forest management, tapping, tap removal, etc. Whether that's a spreadsheet, a calendar, whatever it is, there's no regulation that says how you have to keep those, just that you do. Your record keeping system should be what works best for you, as long as that information is accessible and easily understandable by your inspector. We also require a field history for each maple stand, and maps for each maple stand and the overall production. Facility diagram. So this is like a bird's eye view of your sugar house and storage that includes where you're storing materials, where your RO system is, any storage for sap and syrup, evaporator, etc. Receipts for all inputs. Organic certificates are required for certified inputs. Generally, this is just whatever defoamer you're using. SOPs for cleaning and sanitizing, product flow, etc. Most of the producers that I see don't have pest issues, but if you do and use substances or some sort of pest control management, keeping documentation of what you're doing and how often is required. Like I said before with the labeling, traceable lot numbers need to be on containers, but they also need to be on invoices if you're selling wholesale or to a third-party distributor. Production and sales records for barrels or pounds sold for the current and previous year. And then a state of Maine maple license. I don't believe New Hampshire doesn't have a maple license, so that's not something that we look for those who are from New Hampshire, but they are required in the state of Maine. I'm not sure about Vermont though. All right. So one of the biggest questions that I get or concerns that I get from producers is about the mass balance, the audit exercises. So a mass balance and traceback exercise are required at every inspection that we do. And I wanted to demystify the mass balance and traceback a little bit. They can be a little intimidating. It can feel very invasive. So this is what our report looks like. As an inspector, this is what I am. This is what's on my report form. The mass balance calculation is an input-output exercise. So we're looking for how much syrup was produced and how much was sold. within how much is in inventory, how much was maybe gifted or given away, so that at the end we can find a balance of how much, to find out what the variance between what was produced and what was sold or went out the door as finished product. And then we also do a production per, like a calculation for production per tap to see that the yields are matching up for the year as well. And then I wanted to do a little, this isn't included in your slides. Again, this was a last minute ad today when I was like, I should talk about that more. So I did a little mass balance exercise example. This is completely made up. But I wanted to go through it a little bit. So the operators of Gold or Sugarbush have 25,000 taps and sell syrup in bulk in 40-gallon drums, as well as retail in quarts and pints. 2024 records indicate 250 drums were filled and 5 of those drums were bottled. At the time of the 2026 inspection, inventory is 20 drums and 5 gallons of 2025 syrup are still on hand. I'm realizing that this 2024 should say 2025 on that second line, so I apologize. And then the 2025 sales, we are seeing 1,212 pounds sold bulk and 79 gallons were sold retail in quarts and pints. So that's what this looks like on my sheet. Basically, I'm filling the numbers in and doing a basic calculation. Originally, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Originally, I'm finding a 29% variance based on the information that the producer originally gave me. But when the inspector asked for an explanation, the producer realized that they purchased syrup from another organic producer. So as an inspector, I'm asking for those receipts and asking for the organic certificate to ensure that that product is in fact organic. And I am readjusting my calculations based on the new information that I was given and found a 7.9% variance. MCS allows a 5% variance. There's no such thing as perfection. So we understand that there's just no way for things to be perfect usually. So MCS allows a 5% variance. The 7.9 is, while not crazy, is above what we would like to see. So that inspector is going to cite at inspection for 205-103 record keeping and flag that to the specialist to let them know that there was a discrepancy that's a little bit higher than we would like. But in the down here at the bottom with the yield 4.4 pounds per tap is within reason. So that checks out. The next one is our trace back exercise. So with the trace back, we're looking to trace your product throughout your record keeping system. So we're starting with either with a sale or a barrel number depending on the inspector. I like to start with a single sale and work my way back through those records. So I'm starting with a sales invoice to Bascom and recording all of that the information that's given on the barrel, on the invoice. Maple inspection or maple traceback audits tend to be pretty easy, especially if you are only selling wholesale. It can become more complicated if you're doing retail or multiple different types of bottles. And of course depends on how much you're selling as well. But for this exercise, I just wanted to show a quick, easy example. So we're starting, this producer only has two records that ultimately make a successful traceback because their barreling record connects to the invoice and has multiple links between the documents, that being the product, which is listed as organic on both, which is great, and the barrel number. All right. And again, just a little blurb on the materials list. I won't go into that because I already talked about that a little bit. All right, so do I need a processing supplement? MCS does not require a processing supplement for people who are producing for bulk syrup or wholesale syrup. So if you are selling barrels or only wholesale and not bottling, we do not require that our producers have a processing supplement. However, if you are bottling into smaller units to sell retail, or if you are making a product like candies, sugar, cream, etc., we do categorize that as processing and require additional it's called the scope. So you would also be certified under the processing scope. I'm not going to go into the processing scope as much in this webinar. If you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. We can talk more about what that looks like. But I wanted to focus more on the maple syrup production. But I'm happy if anyone has questions to answer those and elaborate more. All right, so what to expect at inspection? So inspections exist to verify that what you submitted on your OSP is what is happening on the ground. Certifiers are required to conduct inspections at a time where they can verify compliance, which means that the producer is operating, which means we have to inspect generally during the more busy times of the year for everyone. So maple inspections happen between February and April, usually wrapping up in the first 2 weeks of April. And they consist of generally 3 parts, one being the Sugar Bush tour, the facility tour, and record keeping. And this is where your inspector goes and verifies all of the things that we've just talked about and that you submitted on your OSP are in fact what's going on in the day-to-day production. It can feel a little redundant because, hey, I submitted that on my OSP, but that's the role of the inspector, and that's what we're asked to do as certifiers, is to verify that's what's happening. Your inspector is a third-party observer. I have conversations with producers all the time about who are looking for specific information that as an inspector I'm not allowed to give. Generally, your inspector will give a little spiel at the beginning, part of their kind of intro about answering questions and tiptoeing that line between technical assistance and an inspector. But if you have questions, you can always ask your certification specialist. So once is your all of the findings that your inspector comes across during your inspection are then relayed to your certification specialist. They do not make, or inspectors don't make certification decisions at inspection. So they may say, and I say all the time, like, okay, we'll add that to your materials list, or okay, we'll update your OSP. But until your specialist has reviewed that material or verified that that tract doesn't have any contamination issues or whatever it might be, until your certification specialist okays that, it is not technically a part of your OSP. And anything that they find at inspection, as far as compliance issues or issues of concern, is not a final thing. They're just flagging that as something that they think might be an issue, and that the certification specialist will follow, and the certification specialist will then follow up on it. All right, we're gonna switch gears a little bit here, and talk about the Transition to Organic Partnership Program, also called TOP. This is a initiative that the USDA put into place. Was it 2022, I believe? I should know that. So this is a program that provides support to producers who are interested in transitioning to organic. It offers technical assistance, mentorship, NRCS assistance, grants. 2026 is the final year for this. So if this is something that you're interested in, I believe that especially the mentorship, the 2026 cohort, I believe the applications are due in the beginning of February. So if you're interested, definitely reach out to me or to Maddie or someone at MOFGA, and we'll get you to the right person. But that's the website for it, with more information. Oh, there we go. And just a little bit more about the grants, the market development grant and farmer assistance through NRCS and risk management agency that are available to top participants. And also some of the farmer to farmer networks that exist within that programming. These are the different regions for TOP. We are the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast, of course, and MOFGA has been working with certifiers and organic, what are they called? Organizations throughout the Northeast, on mentor programs, etc. And if you want to learn more, there's the link at the bottom to with all of the partner organizations information. This is a little bit more about the mentorship. This is where you as a producer are paired with another organic producer within your area. They are there to offer advice, technical assistance. There's also a stipend for educational opportunities. As far as organic certification, they provide assistance for certification readiness, will help you go through and create your OSP, get ready for inspection. They'll help interpret the regulation, which can be a little confusing because it's a bunch of legal. I don't know. Sometimes I get confused by what they actually mean by that. So it helps people interpret what the regulation means for them on the ground. There's also a bunch of one-on-one support, webinars, workshops, etc. And those conferences and workshops are provided by not only the Northeast cohorts, but throughout the US. You're able to participate in those. Yeah, so let's see. What do we have for questions or concerns, or I'll open it up. Is there something I missed that you'd like to go a little bit further into? I will.
So I'm gonna launch a poll here really quick as folks are thinking about their questions. So before we put you on the spot entirely, it's just a little bit of a question set that's related to top. So if you can fill that out, that's super helpful to us while you think about your questions. And I'll add to, feel free to ask any questions out loud. We are a small group here, so I think that having a more casual conversation is quite all right. But also, if you prefer to ask a question in the chat, that's quite fine. I'll be sure to share it out for Kristen.
I have a question about cost share for the fees.
Yep.
Last year, the funds didn't come through, and I thought I heard maybe there's going to be retroactive funding and maybe funding for this coming year. So you could cover that. That would be helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So funding was approved through 2031. Because that went through so late, we are anticipating the 2025 funds being released and in your hands this spring. And the 2026, as far as we know, will go on as planned, with the kind of deadline for being September 30th for reimbursement. But you should be getting that check, or you will be getting that check. We're still in communication with the NOP and yeah, participating other organizations involved with the releasing of those funds, but you will get them.
One other question. I wasn't clear when you were talking about the processor scope. Just bottling syrup for retail, bottling our own syrup for retail. Is the processing scope required for that?
Yes. So anything that's put into a is sold retail requires the processing scope. Yep. It's only if you are selling in bulk, generally in barrels, that we don't require that. And that's there because a lot of the producers, a huge chunk of our producers are along the Canadian border, and they produce only for Bascom, and that's the only person that they sell to. So we don't require producers that just put their syrup into big 45-gallon drums or whatever it is for them to do that. But if you are bottling for retail, we do require it.
Sorry to dominate the questions situation, but Cornell Maple Program, they have a lot of information. You mentioned the Vermont and Maine, but Cornell has a ton as well.
They do, yeah. They have a lot of online resources. I was actually looking at them this afternoon as I was preparing for this. Yes, Cornell has a great an abundance of resources, as does the University of Minnesota. They have a lot of great resources on their website as well. And I like theirs tends to be within a little more within our like climate zone. So I like those specifically for that reason as well. They tend to be a little bit more pertinent to our to our zone.
Thanks for that. I'm definitely gonna add those to my list. I'm still learning very much so as to what the best resources are available to share with folks. So I appreciate that. And I will know I'm gonna end the poll here. Thanks everyone for sharing that information with us. And we do still have quite a few minutes here, and it's totally fine, Tim, if you dominate our questions. That's quite welcome. But if anyone else has any thoughts, there are no bad questions. We really just want to make sure that you have the knowledge and resources that you need.
Well, if you have, I mean, I'm not gonna, if there are any other questions or anything, I won't keep you much longer here. If you want to email me directly with any Maple specific questions, my email is included in the slides here. And then if there are any top related questions, you can reach out to the certification@mofga.org email. Yeah. And thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you all so much. And yeah, we'll chat soon, I hope. So, there is just, I want to note the Maine Maple Producers Association does have their annual meeting tomorrow. That's in Augusta at the Civic Center. So they do have some interesting looking sessions lined up. So, uh, keep that in mind.
All right. Thank you, everyone.